folks, welcome to Tyrdom. So today I want to talk about a virtue that I find quite interesting. And there were many Viking virtues that we all heard about, strength and honor and things of that nature. But when we talk about the Viking or the Iron Age in Northern Europe, most people, I think they get, the internal image of axe-wielding savages that were extremely brutal and raided and things of that nature. And even though there's a lot of truth in that, of course, that was one of their tools for, gaining the successes they had. But I would say that there's one particular virtue that I want to explore a bit today. And this is a virtue that I think we have usage for in the modern times as well. And this is, from all I can see, a home-brewed virtue from the Northern Europe. And the particular virtue I'm talking about is something called Drengrskapr or Drengrskapr, depending on where you come from in Northern Europe. But it's a Nordic ideal of honourable conduct, I think, is a good summary of it. And if we look at what Drengrskapr actually meant, it was a person who did the hard things and did them even though conditions were very harsh, And a person who showed Drengrskapr in action was a very steady man. He was calm, under pressure, fair, loyal, reliable, I would say, and also brave without boasting about being brave. And if we look at the sagas, basically all examples of those people who didn't show Drengrskapr, the boasty ones or, the hotheads, they typically passed early on in the stories. Meanwhile, the men with Drengrskapr personalities were the ones who actually survived. And I guess you could say the steady men were those who actually survived. And I think the reason why this was so important in the North is that, there's really no room for anything else than being steadfast and stay true to your word. You might have heard about the Viking oath bracelets. Have you maybe seen them? Oftentimes in silver or in another precious metal, but also sometimes in iron. They oftentimes resembled, the shapes of dragons or snakes or wolves or stuff. But it was called an honor ring. And, you oftentimes swore on your honor ring that you would do the right thing, for example. And a man in Viking Age Scandinavia who wasn't, followed through his word was oftentimes deemed as a níðingr. And a níðingr, I can tell you, was basically the worst thing you could be addressed as in those times. A níðingr was, below slaves, below traitors. A níðingr was, just not a good man to be, because a níðingr had no, position in the social hierarchy at all. But if we look back on why Drengrskapr was such a good model for the northern conditions, if we look at on the environment here, We have long winters. We have, short summers, and, basically no playroom for chaos. You have to be a very steadfast man who follows his plan and stays true to his word in order to keep a family alive at all in these conditions. And there's no room for being impulsive either, because, if you don't stand true to your word and you're not brave and, attacking those conditions heads on, you will be in a world of hurt, And back in those times, now in modern times, we tend to look at strength and being honourable as, products or prestiges we put on people that we want to, feed the algorithms with. But back in those days, these were, traits that were as absolutely necessary even to, sustain a family at that time. So it wasn't, a choice you made. It was either you stay stoic, strong, showing Drengrskapr, or you were out. That was the end of your lineage, if that makes sense. And if we compare the Drenger mindset with what we have today, it's like I've talked about before, but today we, oftentimes choose loudness instead of steadiness, because loudness gives you eyeballs on this platform, for example. And, this channel, what we're doing right here now, I get why I don't get that reach, but I'd rather have people like you on this channel who are actually deeper than a glass of water, who actually think and resonate with these things. But, and also, if we look at the mindset today versus the Drengrskapr mindset, we have this, constant outrage because it sells instead of steadiness, which I promote on this channel. It's better to be steadfast over time than, living in drama constantly. That's not what I want at all. And attention seeking instead of, bearing the weight that I oftentimes talk about, bearing the duty. And choosing chaos over discipline, I would also say, is a differentiator between Drengrskapr and today's mentality. And that's what I'm actually actively trying to do here. Get people to take responsibility, learn from the ancestry. You don't have to find wisdom or, reinvent wisdom. It's there ripe for the picking if you choose to actually engage in it. So that's actually one strong motivation I have behind this channel, because we have this Swedish saying, du behöver inte gå över ån för vatten. And it's basically translate, you don't have to cross the creek to fetch water. It's better to fetch the water in the creek, if that makes sense. And I think the core of the Viking virtue, Drengrskapr, is that a man's word is his bond, That's what he has to offer, basically. And not because there was, laws that dictated to him that he needed to do X, Y, and Z. If he gave you your word, that was it. He gave you your word. And it's not, driven by social rules either. It's bigger than that. But somewhere along the lines, that man decided that this is what I'm going to be, and this is what I stand for. And I think we can learn from that, And in today's time, we oftentimes are judged by our emotions. But, the emotional world we live in today, that is actually a luxury we have because our ancestors made that even possible. Back in the day, emotions would kill you. as a man especially, you had to be able to, you know, turn off your emotions and just deliver on your duty, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm sometimes can be perceived as not cold, but you know, some weights here in life you just have to carry, like it or not. It's not a non-negotiable, so to say. And you know, I would be lying if I said that I feel like $1,000,000 all the time, because I don't. But you just suck it up, you carry that duty because you do it for a bigger, you know, picture. And then there's, you know, this taking action is one important thing if we translate it to today's context. And discipline, loyalty, and, you know, doing this over time, you're being able to endure without falling apart. That's also a Drengrskapr virtue, I would say. And yeah, I'm not saying that we should roll back time, you know, back to those time and place, because it sure as hell wasn't easier back then. And we do have a lot of conveniences, you know, and things that we got going for us. Even though, you know, politics are messing things up and we have all different types of challenges. But I think if we look back at those evergreen, those old virtues, we can learn from it and adapt them to modern times. So I want to make an argument for this, that a modern Drengrskapr could be something like keeping your word, even though it's inconvenient in that moment, and controlling your emotions. I can't really come to think about something more unmanly, if you will, than being unstable in your emotions, actually. And being able to get the work done without, you know, getting those, you know, high fives and applause by people around you. And also, you know, protecting what's yours, protecting your family, protecting what you own, and things of that nature. And just the way you present yourself to the world. Jordan Peterson said this, stand straight and put your shoulders back. But I also think that, you know, walking with some type of confidence, showing that you're not a pushover and things of that nature, is also very, very important. How you present yourself to the world. And, you know, we all have heavy segments in our lives, but not crumbling under pressure. Being able to turn off those feelings. And I get that, you know, sometimes life is very hard, but in the Drengrskapr virtue, that's just a part of the process to achieving, you know, becoming that man we all want to be. And I guess what I'm trying to tell you here is we don't necessarily need long ships, or you don't even have to have a beard, even though I highly recommend getting a beard. But it's about self-governance, you know. And that's how we tap into, you know, the ancient strength again, I would say. But yeah, it's not so much about being a warrior again. It's more about the warrior mindset. Even though I promote you to being able to protect yourself and protect your family, because those are very important things. It's about being a man that other people can rely on, you know. If you give them your word, you keep that word, and people know that. That's what makes you a good man, I would say. And you stand steady. You don't complain, you know, and you stand with both feet on the ground when everything else rocks. And that, you know, is a good Drengrskapr, you know, what should we call it? Yeah, character, basically. And yeah, I would say that the Drengrskapr way of living is not a thing you do lightly. It's a thing you do to honor your ancestors, and it's a thing you do to become the best man that you can be, you know. So yeah, let me know what you think about this concept, and let me know if you heard about this before. And I think we all want to be Drengrskapr men and not needing in the end of the day. So think about this. Okay, folks, I think that's all. Have a lovely one. Talk to you later. Tyrdom out.